The caveat is you hype us up into the beginning.
Yeah, I can be like, hey, hi everybody, hi Steve.
Hey, buddy. This is so natural,
It's so
eh?
natural.
This is All Games Go to Heaven, Episode 7, Pray.
Well, we made it to episode 7. We never thought we'd get here. You know, this was not supposed to be episode 7 though, because Zelda decided to take us on a detour around other things and whatnot because of my crazy, insane life. Yeah, I know, but we
I'm
got
not
it.
shaking my head at your crazy, insane life. I'm shaking my head at the Ocarina of Kaka.
We're going to talk about a different form of caca today.
Oh my
No,
god.
oh my god.
Oh my god.
Way to set it up. Way to get us set it up. No,
Yeah.
no, but we're here to talk about last week. We had a great time talking about a game I loved and Steve hated, which was Zelda's 64 Ocarina of Time. And this week, Michael doesn't really hate any games. He doesn't hate any game. Or whatever games I hate, Steve usually hates as well. So we've had a tough time finding a game that Steve loves and I hate. But we found one that I had zero interest in playing whatsoever and didn't even look remotely appealing to me that Steve loves, called
Oh my god. It's called Prey. And I still don't understand how this game, as somebody who loves BioShock so much, like how this game didn't appeal to you. It's another BioShock. And don't give me that crap of like, oh, I need to play. I would play BioShock. I don't need to play this. Like, you played BioShock. You played BioShock 2. I'm pretty sure you played Infinite. Like, just
all I'll say, all I'll say is that we will get to it, and there's still a reason why I probably would never have played this game if you had made me, unless you had made me.
that's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe you do have strong feelings of hatred towards this game, Mike.
It's not hatred, no, because it's still a decently good game in a lot of ways.
Decently good. Wow. Their most critically acclaimed game is decently good.
Okay, we're getting way
Michael
ahead of
Payne's
ourselves. Okay, who are they? Let's start with who are they this week.
Well, okay, so Arcane Studios, they were been around since 1999. Their first 3 games, I've only maybe heard of one of them. So which was Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, which came out in 2006. The other ones are Arx Fatalis from 2002, and then Karma Star in 2009, which was an iPad game. So I don't know anything about those. I don't know how the reception was to any of them. But in 2010, they were contacted by your favorite company, by Bethesda, to make a stealth game set in feudal Japan. It didn't really come to fruition. But then essentially what happened is Bethesda's parent company, ZeniMax, bought Arcane. And at this time, ZeniMax owned another company called Human Head Studios, which made the other Prey. This is where it gets a bit confusing. The original Prey in 2005, and that was developed by Human Head Studios and 3D Realms, which are the guys that made Duke Nukem. And that was a guy gets abducted by aliens, and it's a first-person shooter. Seemed like people really liked it, and there was some cool gravity mechanics. I never played it, but it seemed to get good reception. Arcane doesn't make this stealth Japan game, but then a deal comes around for them to make like a stealth immersive sim type of game, and that's where we got Dishonored in 2012, which I was a huge fan of. I think you like that one a lot as well.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, and for a 4 or 12-year-old game now, it still looks good. I mean, they really like went with a vision and a visual style that still holds up, and I think it's more common than not that 3D games like quickly look like crap just because the technology advances so quickly.
Yeah.
Like Super Nintendo or whatever, like all those pixel art games still look really good, but like if you go back to most like PlayStation 2 games, you're like, ugh. If it's like a person, or if there's not like a certain visual style that they went for, it just does not look too good. So that did great, and then we got Dishonored 2 in 2016, and by this point there was two Arcane studios, so while they were working on Dishonored 2, they were also making this Prey. At the same time, there was supposed to be a Prey 2 from the other company, but then it was sort of like went into development hell. It had a trailer which looked really cool, like you're a human bounty hunter in space, like hunting down aliens. So then ZeniMax kicks and Bethesda kick Human Head and 3D Realms off the project. They give it to Arcane in 2013, and then it becomes a reboot of Prey, even though Arcane doesn't want to do this, but basically it sort of implied that Bethesda was like, do this or we're not going to give you guys anything and you're going to go out of business. So the new Prey that we reviewed gets announced and everyone's like, what? You know, like, what? Prey isn't this? Like, Prey is... What happened to Prey 2? Like, so it caused a lot of confusion, which at the time really hurt this game. So it didn't... It pissed off the fans of the original game, and then anyone that was sort of interested in Prey or Prey 2 was like turned off by this whole sort of weird event. So it didn't sell well at the beginning, and it wasn't until later that Prey started getting more acclaim and people were buying it, but it's sort of, I want to say like a forgotten gem, but just because it was too little too late, like once people started taking notice of it. And then, you know, they've been sort of up and down since then. They made some Wolfenstein spin-offs that people were like, meh. And then
this is Human Mind or Human Head?
No, this is
Arcane.
Arcane. Yeah, Arcane.
Yeah, but they did Deathloop, which was like critically acclaimed like crazy.
Yeah, Deathloop did great in 2021, and then Bethesda again forced them to make a live service game called Redfall, which is about like hunting.
I know Redfall. Man, that is not a good reviewed game.
No, that has been really poo-pooed to hell, and they're Supposedly working on a game based on Blade, like the Marvel character.
Okay.
I think there's only been a cinematic trailer, so no idea if that's even still going. Excuse me. But that's Arcane. I think they're a great example of when they have a project that they love and they can sink their teeth into, and there's sort of nobody really pulling the reins, you get something great out of them. But as soon as you like force them to do something, it's just, you know.
That explains a lot of my feelings towards Prey. No, okay. Hold on. Oh, but it just kind of sucked for them, because at the end of the day, it's like I don't know, if I came around and you know, Denis Villeneuve would be like, hey, I'm doing Dune 3, but then all of a sudden Warner, whoever is the distribution company on that, just said, you know what, Denis, go screw yourself. We're gonna give it to this new kid on the block who's done like one film that did pretty well or something like that. We're going to give it to them. This guy doesn't even want to do it. They force him to do it. And it's like, even if he does a good job, it's like everyone's so pissed that Denis lost Dune, and the truth, like the fans that have hyped up with the series up until now would be so, like, it would divide the community, right? Might be new fans for the new Dune, but there'd be a whole legion on the other side being like, hold on, bro. You took this away from Denis Villeneuve. Like, this is his baby. Like, you know?
Yeah, 100%. You know, like, this is the guy that brought you this success, and all of a sudden you kick him off, and like they're related but they're not related. Like it's just a mess. So like that's a great, you know, sort of contemporary
I do not know why they didn't just give it a different title, man. Like, that could have been it,
right? Just call it freaking the Hunted or something, and you know, there you go.
Typhon.
No, not Typhoid.
No, Typhon. I know, Typhon. You could have called it Typhon. You know what I mean? Like, you could have called it so many things. Like, there's so many things. You could have had like a catchy title like You or something, because that's the main character's name. Like, you could have had so many. There's just a million different things you could have besides stealing just because you want to keep the IP licensing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was just they got the IP and they wanted to do something with it. You know, there was a Prey 2. And they had all these assets and levels and whatever, and it just like none of it got used by Arcane, because it's two completely different things. The only thing that they have in common, and I guess to transition to the story just a tiny bit, is you're being hunted by aliens.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, and that's kind of where I can tap in, because like the story of Prey itself is that you are You wake up one day and you are a researcher named Morgan Yu, who supposedly has just gotten a ticket to go work on a satellite research facility outside of, yeah, a research facility.
It's not. It's as far as you know. In the beginning, you're on Earth.
Yes, you're on Earth, yes, but you just got a ticket to go work with your brother Alex on this research facility in
No,
space.
man.
Yeah, that's how this is how you supposedly start.
I'm
This is how
telling
you
you supposedly start by taking a helicopter ride to a facility on Earth where you're getting
Yes,
where they're
yes.
doing tests. There's no
Yes, where
satellite.
they're doing tests, but you've just got an excited news that you're joining your brother in the next few weeks to join them to go to space. That's like
Oh,
the
right,
whole
right,
hype
right.
up,
Okay.
right? Okay. I got you.
All
I
right,
remember.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Anyways, so you're Morgan you get helicoptered off to get these tests done on you, and you quickly realize that all is not as it seems. That your reality, as you have been fed it, is actually part of an experiment that you are a part of, linked into this new entity called the Typhon, this extraterrestrial entity called the Typhon that has a lot of secrets and hidden, I don't know, rules of the universe that humanity has not access to. They're an entity that is so beyond anything humanity has encountered that they are just, it is changing the rules of reality, laws, physics, and everything in regards to what they're doing on this research facility. And without spoiling too much, you wake up and you realize that everything you've been told is from that day you've experienced getting on the helicopter, the ticket to go meet your brother, has been part of an experiment, and you're actually already on the research facility, being put through this constant loop to see how you test, because you are part of the experiment itself. I don't want to say too much. This is where it gets into like how much spoiler territory do we get into or not, right?
I'd say that's already a bit of spoiler territory. So this is what I think we both agree.
Yeah.
If you have any interest at all in this game, stop the video here, go play it
Right now.
You can get
Right
it
now.
on sale for like I think like $7 on like a Steam sale these days, and then come back and watch.
So
Yeah, it's
turn it off now if you want to. Yeah.
yeah. So it's an immersive sim, like which is the genre that kind of got pioneered by System Shock and then BioShock, and even you could argue some of the later Resident Evil games are a bit like that, but this is another one along those veins. You're going to have limited resources. You're going around the environment, just sort of. It's not linear. You can make your own way through. There's multiple ways to do this, like one thing to accomplish something. It's not just go from point A to point B. So when you were playing this game, and while I was eagerly awaiting your response, we'll say, it seemed like it wasn't until much later that you at least started to enjoy things, but I don't understand how the intro doesn't get you excited. So just to go a bit more in depth in it, so now that we can talk about spoilers, you wake up, your brother calls you, you get in this helicopter, you have this amazing fly through the city with some great music playing. You land at the state, the lab or whatever, and like you say, you're doing some tests, but something seems off, because every time you do something, the researcher's like, what's going on here? Like, am I missing something? And then eventually you see a creature climb onto the table, turn into this guy's coffee cup, and then this guy picks up the coffee cup and the thing attacks him. And then you get gassed and you wake up in your apartment again like everything's normal. But as soon as you leave your apartment, you see things are not quite what they seem. There's a dead person.
Everything's going wrong.
Yeah. And then you grab the wrench and you break out of your confinement by shattering the window to your balcony. And you start realizing that everything you've experienced is a total lie. It's a simulation.
Yeah.
And then as you go further, you realize you're not even on Earth. You're on a space station.
Yeah.
It's like, how does that revelation at the beginning just not get you pumped up?
Well, look, so, there's so many things. The other thing we failed to mention is that this takes place in an alt history,
Of course,
the game developers call, where it's like humanity has advanced towards space exploring technology. I won't say faring, space exploration at a more rapid rate than they are now. So things are a lot more advanced. Things look a little different. Writers are different. There's this
Yeah.
whole world building that's really unique. The intro really did excite me. When I got onto the helicopter, I looked off, and you see, but that, like, it was, the intro to this game is one of the most unique intros I've ever seen in my entire life. Like the way they introduced Bethesda, Arcane Studios, everything about the first 20 minutes of this game, I was like, this could be one of the greatest games I've ever played. That's how I felt. And then I shattered that window.
You mean metaphorically or literally?
No, literally, and everything started going downhill because I hated
What?
the villain types in this. The combat in this game was such garbage to me in regards to how the enemy and the style you have to fight. It was everything I've ever hated about the different enemy types I've hated throughout video games rolled into one package, and I was forced to fight them for 20 hours straight.
Okay, well, so I guess we should talk about what those enemies are. So you have,
Yes.
you start off by fighting mimics, which they look like, I don't know, four-legged octopuses.
They're the
without
flood
the top part.
from Halo. Yeah, they're the little flood from the Halo.
They
They're
are
little
not
pieces
the
of
sure,
sponge.
sure, well, sure.
Yeah.
The big difference being that the mimics are called that because they can take the shape of, you know, smaller to like medium-sized objects, like, you know, a coffee cup to like a lampshade or something.
Yeah.
To me, I what's the way to write this? Say this, not love hate, but I really enjoyed the idea, experiencing that. I don't think there's ever been another game where from essentially start to finish, I have been on edge the entire time.
You and I played a different game and it had a different experience. That's the craziest part of this whole talk we're about to have.
Yeah, but the fact that at any moment, like, you know, you see on a desk like two staplers, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, is that a mimic?
Yeah, but that was annoying.
It's
That
not
was annoying.
annoying. It's not annoying.
It was annoying as shit. It was like I'm walking around with this wrench. First off, it's like a weaker version of starting Half-Life. Here I am getting this wrench. So right away I was like, okay, this is very Half-Life, interesting. Okay. So I was like, okay, very interesting. This is like a nice little spin-off of Half-Life, whatever. I'm going around, okay, little creatures that latch onto people, that look like they can latch onto people just like in Half-Life. So I was like, whatever, you know, homage, interesting here. I'm enjoying it. And then I just like, at first it was like, okay, I don't really know what object's going to be here. But the thing is, the mimics, they could kill you in the beginning, but after a while, they can't really kill you. They just get fucking annoying. They get so fucking annoying that everywhere you step into, you're just trying to get shit done. And I enjoy the exploration aspect of this game the best. Like the thing I like the most is I hate the enemy types, but I love the exploration of the space facility. That's what kept me in it. So I'm over here just trying to research clues, figure out the truth, find like ways to get codes to get into rooms and safes, which was all great. And here I am, these stupid little fucking black spermicide fucking things are just latching onto you. It's like, okay, so here's the other thing. It's like, so you fight mimics, and then immediately afterwards you start fighting phantoms, I think they're called. Mm-hmm. And they look like these fizzled out little like I don't know, Venom-esque characters. So for the first 3 hours of this game, all I could think to myself is, okay, here's Venom, and here's a splooge. And his splooge is just getting all over me, and I'm just going around jacking off fucking Venom with his wrench, hitting him all over the place, and he just splooges everywhere. And then this disgusting black tar shit is everywhere, and it just takes shape of anything in the fucking room. And all I want to do is just just get through the adventure and exploration, find some guns, get to some interesting combat. Instead, I'm walking around hitting things with a fucking wrench like I'm fucking Mario. And I'm just being like, the game was annoying as shit for the first like 6 hours of gameplay. For me.
6 hours? Are you kidding me? So okay, the splooge thing, that's you. No, I don't. That's a you thing. But
that was the way I was insulting it. I know I didn't actually see that.
Sure.
I just kept seeing that I was like, what am I jacking off Venom with a wrench, and he's just fucking.
And you keep going with it, eh? That's the first thing you think of. You're jacking off of splooge. All right.
With a wrench.
With a wrench. The other thing is,
what was that?
Like, to me, as soon as they start introducing phantoms, yeah, there it is. I forgot the name again. Once they start introducing the phantoms, and then you get. There's not a huge variety of enemy types, you know, like you get the mimics, you get the, what are they, super mimics or something, and then you get the different varieties of the phantoms, and then there's a couple other ones that we'll talk about later. So there's not a huge variety of enemy types, but what I found, it didn't take me 6 hours to get to a point where I'm fighting less mimics and sort of dealing more with these different types of phantoms. Like
Okay.
that's how I felt the game handled like itself. Is like, okay, once you start introducing new things, you can do less of that stuff at the beginning. But then, because you're always sort of strapped for resources as a human anyway, like, we play this very differently because
We did.
yeah, there's an RPG element to this where there's essentially, to simplify it, there's two ways you can go. You can invest in like human technology or alien abilities. I
Yeah,
did.
but before you
Go ahead.
Yeah, but before you continue, that's because you figure out that the experiment you're a part of as Morgan Yu is this use of the neuromod technology that's being implemented into you, which is another unique technique that Arcane Studios did, which is you're leveling up, aka your growth as a character in this was depending on how many neuromods you found,
Right.
and would, in a sense, inject into yourself to get stronger or weaker, and now continuing on with whether you're human or alien powers or Typhon powers.
Yeah. Right. And if you go more into the Typhon powers, the stations turns against you, like the defenses or the little robots that are flying around. And from what you've said, going in the Typhon path eventually led to a point where it was easy. Like you were never.
It got fun.
Yeah, it got fun. Where you never felt like, where you did feel like, it was like a power fantasy almost. Like you were never in real danger. Whereas as a human, that entirety of that game never felt like I wasn't in danger. I always felt vulnerable.
Yeah, you did, and that's the part of the game I hated, and that's the part of so the game got interesting to me because you get this thing which is called the psychoscope. You get the psychoscope, and that's kind of when things open up in the alien path, and that happens about 3 hours into the game, I think, or 3 hours into my playing of the game, 3 to 4 hours. You get the psychoscope, and the psychoscope allows you to analyze the different forms of Typhon. And then as you analyze them, you get more alien powers that open up to you. This game only got interesting to me when I found the shotgun and when I got alien powers. Up until then, it just felt like the most boring, stealth, garbage game I'd ever played in my entire life. No, that's an exaggeration. It was just a boring, stealth, garbage game. And it was just like, I'm this stupid human that's already has to like, evade this enemy type I don't even like being in combat with. I'm like, it wasn't like frightening at all to me. It was just annoying. Like I got to the point where I would just pick up an object every time I went into a room, and I just whipped the object across the room to see if any mimics would pop up. And oftentimes that did the trick. And later on, you get a Typhon power that actually allows you to lift every object in the room and just throw it up, and then the mimics get fucking wheeled out of there, so you don't even have to deal with them. That's when all this got interesting to me. I unlocked this giant explosion Typhon power, which is like you just create this giant kinetic burst. I got warp shift, which is like in a sense you get to quickly like you create a clone of yourself, like a double, like a crystal fake path, and you jump behind the enemy you're in. And then suddenly things got interesting. Suddenly you told me at one point, and this was my mistake. You told me this is not a shooter. True. You told me this. You said something along the lines of like, this isn't a shooter. You shouldn't play this like a shooter.
It's not, and you
Right?
shouldn't.
Because I didn't start enjoying this until I started playing this like a shooter.
But it's not Call of Duty. It's not a shooter.
But it only got interesting when I did start playing it that way.
That sounds like a you problem. You're going into it with the wrong frame of mind.
But I disagree. I think that's what's interesting about this game and this whole episode is that you can play it either way. You can 100% play it as a shooter by not investing in any of the stealth technology, none of the human shit, and just investing in all of the gun upgrades, the gun modding technology, the Typhon powers, and you can just blow your way out of every freaking room. You can just explode a room, roll up with my shotgun, blow everyone out of the freaking water.
But you're talking about like
Amazing.
15 hours into the game.
No. That was about 6 to 8 hours where that started getting interesting. Like it was about 6 to 8 hours of, like I said, when I got the kinetic blast, when I got the warp shift, and when I got when I upgraded my shotgun and started just getting weapon modding, I stopped investing anything into hacking or anything into stealth. No stealth. I just I invested everything in just being a badass combatant, and the game got that's when the game got interesting to me. Cause like, I know. And I was so bored up until that point in time. Cause I was like, the setting is remotely interesting. Like what kept me going in the beginning and not quitting is that what's unique about this game is that you're on a closed research facility. So you are in one environment that you can go back and forth to. There's never like a forward progression. You can't go back to every area you've been at before. This is kind of like a closed open world in that like there's a singular environment, which is this entire space station. And anywhere you go, you can always go back to those places and things have changed. There's different enemy types there. There's different clues, maybe for a different quest you've gotten. And there's different paths that open up to you because maybe you've gotten stronger, or maybe you've gotten better hacking, or maybe you have the morph technology that allows you to turn into a cup and just roll through a gap somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have to hack any locks anymore because I just turned myself into a cup and roll through a window or through a hole in the wall, and I was just in the room. Like, I didn't have to do anything.
Right.
So all that got interesting, and when you go through that exploration aspect kept me in it, and I just got so annoyed finding enemies because I was like, I don't want to fight these guys. I got to use this fucking glue gun, which I enjoyed from an exploration aspect.
Dude, you are not about to talk shit about the glue gun.
No, I said I enjoyed from an exploration aspect, but from a fighting aspect, it was just like, this is, I can freeze people, then go bash them with my wrench. That's what I was doing in the beginning. But then, like, as soon as I got my shotgun better, and as soon as I got the Q beam stronger, and then I had my Typhon abilities, suddenly I wasn't annoyed by guys because I was just rushing in. I didn't have to sneak anywhere. I just run in with my shotgun, cap 1-2 bitch piece, and then fucking Typhon explodes something, cap everyone in the room, and then I just get to explore.
I mean,
I know, it's such a different play style.
Monkey brain ooga booga. You have to make things go boom boom to have a good time, I guess. Like,
not in every game, but in that game I did.
Okay, you know what? Good for you. I'm happy that we had such different experiences. I'm sorry that the first 6 hours were such a slog for you. I at no point did I ever feel like oh my god, bored. Like, those first 6 hours, you're going through the station, you know, trying to survive. Everything's coming after you, but you're finding all these little pieces. I mean, the first 6 hours is where you discover that, you know, the reason you have no idea what's going on is because you've been erasing your own memory and backing it up into those little robots that are helping you. And you know, there's December, there's January, and, you know, eventually you find out that they're called that because, like, that's the month that you, or it's that month of your memory. So, you know, January has more recent information than December. Like there's so much going on and so much discovery in that first 6 hours. I don't understand how you were bored. And it's in that first 6 hours where you get the glue gun, which, to me personally, I think is one of the coolest things that has been put in a game since Half-Life 2 brought the gravity gun.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it from an exploration aspect. I just didn't enjoy it from a combative aspect.
It's just it's another tool to survive. You can either use the glue gun and freeze them and hope you're going to and survive a bit more, or you brute force it with just the wrench. Like, if I have the two options, I'm going to use the glue gun.
Yeah.
But even then, I tried not to use the glue gun because it like you can almost, I don't want to say break the game because I'm sure they designed this with it in mind, but, you know, instead of turn into a cup and rolling under a door, like, if there's something I can't get to, like 3 stories above me, like, I could just make a path with the glue gun because it sticks to surfaces, and all of a sudden you've just made all these platforms.
100%.
First person platforming, never great, but, you know, it works. I loved that, of just like, okay, how can I use this freaking thing that shoots goop, or splooge, as you like to call it, Mike, that shoots splooge everywhere that I can stand on.
Typhon is the splooge.
Sure. The white creamy stuff isn't the splooge. The black fucking venom guy is splooge to you. Anyway.
The immediately solidifying glue. No. But okay, look. But the exploration wasn't my problem in the beginning. My problem was that every time I ran into an enemy type, I was annoyed. I was annoyed by the first 6 hours. I wasn't bored. I was annoyed. I wanted to explore the station, but I would have. I legitimately, and I mean this, would have preferred a desolate station with no enemies in those first few hours and just exploring the mysteries. And I did having to run into anything that was Typhon. It just annoyed the hell out of me. It was annoying. It was like I would set up some turrets. It got a little interesting. I would let the turrets do their thing. The Phantoms could easily knock over the turrets so easily that it was just like, I was pretty much just running for my life and just wanting to get through an area to kill everyone just so I could explore it. Because that was the only thing that was interesting to me, was like the exploration was very unique in this game.
Mm-hmm. Did you... So if the exploration is good, that means you're sort of enjoying the narrative storytelling. Not the narrative storytelling. That's the same thing. The environmental storytelling that you're coming across, right? Like the
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't necessarily enjoy because there's two types of quests. There's ones where you can like, yeah, you go do something for someone, and then there's other quests where it was like, go find. Here's the log of all the people alive or dead in this area, and
right.
you can go find them. That got a little excessive, but I remember like the moment where I was like, this game could still be good was that this game has the best space movement outside a facility in a spacesuit I've ever experienced in a game in my entire life.
Hmm.
Like when you're floating around in the anti-gravity, they nailed it. They knocked this like home run out of the park. The anti-gravity, like no gravity spacesuit action was so amazing.
Yeah.
And like that, the more of that I got to see, the more I was like, I want to just get to more moments of this.
Did you find that guy outside the space station floating around in a container?
I did. I let him die. I just didn't care. I got other things to do. Like this other security officer was there being like, come on in and help us battle some shit. I was like, yeah, I don't care about this guy. I found out why I should have cared about him later on, but
Yeah, so just like Dishonored 1 and 2, this game has a, I don't know, a morality system, I guess if you want to call it. It's just not like overt in your face. It's behind the scenes. So like you said, there's a lot of missions. It's like, do this, go help this person, or go find this person, and they ask you for help. Like I think one person asked you to like go get their medicine from their room and stuff like that, and you can either just be like, nah, or you can help them, and the game does keep track of that. It's not gonna. There's no.
yes.
It's not like in Mass Effect or Witcher. I think even does this where you do something positive. Or Red Dead does this, where you do something positive and all of a sudden it's like, hey, your good guy meter went up, or if you do something bad, your bad guy meter goes up. It doesn't have that in Dishonored or Prey, but it's tracking it, and it does change things. More so in Dishonored than in Prey, but
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah, I agree because like, we've done a good job not completely revealing the ending, and I think we can get away with it because I think that's a nice little surprise for people who still want to play this even after hearing us play it. We've done a good job of evading what that is, and I think we can continue to talk ambiguously here. But like when that consequence is revealed, the consequence isn't even that as black and white as Dishonored or other ones because
Sure.
like I played the game very morally ambiguous. Like I just happened, the 4 people I happened to help were 4 of the critical people that help you affect your ending. So I still got like a good ending, even though I did a lot of shitty things throughout the game, even though I was mainly, because like one of the big consequences is, do you come out more human or do you come out more Typhon? And that's kind of what the big end result is. Do you come out more human or Typhon? And depending on the fact that I went more Typhon, it still didn't have such a critical impact on the ending.
Right. And that's where I think probably the biggest misstep in this game, in my opinion, happens in the ending. Because even though it's tracking all those things, and we'll say the ending responds accordingly, there's a choice at the end.
Right.
Which I think was the wrong choice for Arcane to make.
Yeah, they should have just been like, here, based on your decisions.
Right.
Because like you still kind of get voted as to your morality at the end of it anyway. So like let that vote be your end all be all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let that be your consequence.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I thought that was super weird when I came to it. I was like, okay, well, I could have been a total dickhead and just like sacrificed everybody that I came across and still get, I don't know, the happy ending, if you want to call it. Like that didn't make any sense.
I did sacrifice a lot of people, and I forgot the happy ending.
You just told me the guy in the crate died.
Even for me, you know what was funny? So early on, you get given the stun gun, right, to help make sure you don't kill humans. I said I literally disassembled every stun gun I found for parts, and I just slaughtered every human I found that was under control from a telepath.
Right. So one of the gameplay mechanics that I want to talk to you about, did you like the recycler and the fabricator? I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I even started realizing that some of the stronger enemy types that I was coming across that were giving me a hard time, or some of the annoying ones, I could just actually throw a recycler bomb at them and they just would swallow everything whole, and I wouldn't even have to battle those guys. So if like I found a patch of people, like a bunch of greater mimics that I didn't want to fight, or like a bunch of those floating heads at the end, I would just throw a recycler down, it would just suck them all in, and I'd be like, okay, I guess I don't have to deal with these guys.
Yeah.
Or if like I knew there was some mimics in a room, I'd just throw a recycler in, it would just recycle everything, including mimics.
Yeah, so part of the alternate technology that Mike was talking about, or the alternate history. When we first go to the moon, that's when we discover typhons. So history up to that point is the same, and then when typhons are found, there's like a coalition of governments that come together to make the space station to study them, and then eventually a corporation buys that space station. But one of the technologies that we get is there's a machine called the recycler where you literally put whatever you want in there, and it'll break it down into its like base components. In this game, it's like organic material, metals, typhon material, and maybe like a couple other ones. And then you can take those materials, put them in a machine, and say like, hey, I want shotgun shells, I want a neuromod, I want another wrench. I don't know why you would ever do that, but and it just.
Yeah, I know. I never understood that. Yeah, I never understood that.
It's like you're not going to lose the wrench, and then it spits it out. So, as a human, in that skill tree, you can get more materials from recycling, and it becomes cheaper to fabricate stuff. And yeah, the recycling grenade, which I think is probably the second coolest thing next to the glue gun, is you chuck it and then it just sucks everything into it, and you get materials out of it, which was awesome. And I think it still takes a couple of those to deal. Like you can't one shot a nightmare even with a recycling grenade.
No, but yeah.
But you can still use like a couple of them. I remember the first time I came across a nightmare, which is it is a massive like just swarm of death. That I gotta stop hitting the table when I talk on these. It was terrifying, and I had to run away from it because I had so little resources at this point. So it would just be like stalking around the door, and the only thing I could do was, backtrack into somewhere that I really didn't want to go because there was a bunch of phantoms there, but just try and book it and then get outside the space station so that I could fly around and try and get to another spot. And I thought that was cool. It's not. For me, it wasn't always just okay. Here comes an enemy. I'm just gonna do whatever.
Bang bang.
Yeah, I had to constantly be like adapting and adjusting and finding new ways to get places.
So my first experience with a nightmare, because there's supposed to be this overwhelming thing, was I had invested all my points into the shotgun and the kinetic charge at the very beginning, like the kinetic blast.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I could, I just kept it, because I noticed that this combo between the two of them, I was wiping out pretty much anything I'd come into. So the first time a nightmare found me, it was in my office. So I had nothing else to compete with. It was just me and this nightmare trapped in my office. And thankfully, because of that, I was able to just hide behind the fabricator, and his shots couldn't go behind the fabricator. So it just took 4 shots in my shotgun and 3 kinetic blasts, and he died.
I've never had a nightmare come in there. I've had some phantoms come into the office. Like I was like watching the video of. It was cool seeing like that whole wall turn into a screen and just like there's you talking to you.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, okay, I'm like getting some pretty cool story here, and all of a sudden I just hear like the machine guns going off in the back, and then they stop. So I'd assume that they had taken care of whatever was trying to get to the office, and then I just get nailed, and it's 2 phantoms, and I'm like, holy fuck.
And you're just trying to watch this video? Yeah, because I thought the office was like a safe place. I thought I'd be like,
no.
I know when the nightmare walked in, I freaking learned that pretty quick. And it was just in my office, and I was like, is this where it's supposed to attack you the first time? I'm like, and judging by what you just said, no. But I only ran into 4 nightmares in the whole game.
I don't remember how many I fought.
3 or 4.
The first one for me was it's like that area that almost looks like it has a park, sort of all around.
The Arboreum?
Yeah, that's where I found my first nightmare, and I just had to like book it off into a side place and pray to God it didn't kill me.
That's a tough place to run into it because there's no cover. You're just literally in the open out there.
Yeah. Yes, it's a big space, and that thing has a really powerful ranged attack. It moves quick. Like it doesn't seem to have any downside to it, other than just like it's a huge target. But good luck.
So this is what I guess I got lucky yet again, because for me, I can remember all four instances of a nightmare. One was in my office, so I hid behind the fabricator, and the only thing it could not get through the narrow passage. That dividing wall between your fabricator room and like your main office.
Yeah.
It couldn't go in there. It couldn't fit. So I just hid behind there, and all I could do was shoot these warp bubbles. Second time, I was in the I was in the crew living quarters,
Right.
and I was in one of the communal living sort of areas at the end of the hallways where everyone has their individual rooms. And same idea, there was a narrow hallway with all the pods where it couldn't walk into there. So I did the same thing. I just turned a corner and it couldn't even reach me because it was too big. So then I just bam, 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 shotgun and it died.
Good.
And then the third time was when you are forced to fight one when you're going to the reactor.
Yeah.
But from there, that I was so high up that I just blasted him with my Q-beam with a couple rounds and he was dead. So, and after that, I just turned on the satellite up outside of Talos that allows you to push away the nightmares.
I don't know what you're talking about. At that
Yeah, there's a
level.
quest where you find a satellite. January pretty much tells you have a choice here. There's an extra thing you could do where these nightmares are hunting you. After the second time it hunts you, she's like, there is a way if you get this code and you set up the satellite outside of a broken satellite that's just rotating around Talos. And you go and if you fix that satellite, you can repel the nightmares 5 times.
I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Yeah, or you could bring in a nightmare to fuck everything up in the room.
I still have no memory of that.
Yeah. So after I did that, they called 2 more nightmares, but I just called them off. I was like, oh, nightmares hunting me. I inputted the code because there's because you have this radio for your audio logs, and they give you 2 signals on the audio logs. You can click it. One says repel nightmare, the other says call nightmare. And if you call nightmare, it'll come in and just start fucking up everything, including Typhons,
Right.
including you. Like nothing is safe. And if you repel it, it just stops hunting you.
Yeah.
And it's like you killed it. So I only had to fight 3 nightmares, and the 4th time I just repelled. 5th time I repelled.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
I just
Now you know.
I have zero memory of it, or I don't know. I don't remember. The what I am remembering is there is an enemy that actually is even more like the Flood than the Mimics, and those are the guys that come out of like the pods in 0G. When you're in any of the 0G areas,
Oh my
there's those.
god,
like,
yeah.
those I found annoying because they just shoot so many, and you waste so many bullets trying to get rid of
Chrysanids
them.
or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Chrysanids.
And then the only other one that we haven't talked about is I think they're called the Engineers, right?
You're talking about the little floating heads that are human, the robot ones?
No. There's the Typhon enemy that is big and you can take control of technology. I'm pretty sure it's called.
So
the
there's
Engineer.
So there's the Weaver, which creates the Chrysanids, and then there's the Telepath, which was you could take control of humans.
Right.
I'm pretty sure the Weaver can take control of technology.
Yeah. So what's the one that had the psychic powers?
The one that's invisible.
Nope. It just floated. It just floated. It looked like.
Yeah, that's the Telepath or whatever it's called. Is the I got it all open here. Yeah, I mean it's the Telepath or something like that. Anyways, let's just call it the Telepath.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, that thing just floated around to control of things and shot those bubbles at you, those psychic bubbles. But again, between the Q-beam, the shotgun, and the kinetic blast, I just bam, 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 Q-beam, boo, death. Like, again, I played this like a shooter, so nothing really affected me too bad.
Where were you getting so much ammo from? Like, if you didn't invest in any of the human technology that gave you so much more from like fabricators and recyclers, how are you having so much ammunition?
I was finding it. But don't forget, I didn't have to use that much. Early on, when I got to a point where I could use the Typhon technology, I had 25 of those. Because, like, in a sense, there's health packs, there's armor repair, which repairs your spacesuit, and there's something psi hypos, which give you more psychic ability, psychic power.
More.
I had 20.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had 25 of those. So, and I invested early on in your powers or those psi hypos going twice as far. Like one psi hypo, I could drain my meter, and one psi hypo would replenish it again. So and I made my psychic meter big real early on to the point where I didn't even have to use a lot of ammo because I was using my psychic powers to drain most of a character's health, and then I just run it with my shotgun and finish it off. It would only take me like 3 or 4 shots from the shotgun after I had already blasted it.
All right. Well, I think
again, you didn't use.
You played on easy mode. That's how we're gonna say. You played on easy mode.
I did at one point put it on easy mode. Yeah, I did. I did at the ending when I just wanted to get to the finale. well, I did put it on easy mode because I just wanted to get to the end, and
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
fine.
okay, I fought everything I wanted to fight. I was like, but I remember there was that moment where it was like I was just like, okay, I just want to get to the end here. Like I've tested myself, I've done that. And even on easy mode though, I found that the ammo was about the same amount of ammo I needed to take something down as I did when I was on normal. The only difference is they fired their hits didn't affect me as much on
Yeah, I
easy
don't
mode.
I don't
Yeah.
think easy changes the amount of stuff that's in the station. It's you take less damage and probably do more damage or something like that. It doesn't
Yeah,
change what's there.
the do more damage wasn't that bad. Like I said, I my shotgun by the end was like max. Like I maxed it. I OP'd it. So it was like I was running in and one-shotting phantoms, like one-shotting so many things.
Mm.
Like I think by the end, my shotgun could take down one of those telepaths in like 4 shots.
Nice.
But again, that took max
Sure,
everything,
sure.
you know.
So,
Yeah.
how do you feel about the story as a whole? We already know the intro is incredible. It's the best thing that's ever graced video games, and your opinion's invalid.
I said the intro was great. I did say the intro was great. I said the intro was great.
You said
I
it
said
was
the
great up
combat was
until a
great.
point, until you break the glass, which I still think is weird.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yeah.
the discovering all of the deception and where you really are, the fact that that wasn't cool to you is weird to me.
Well, you know, the thing that I was dreading going into this game as a whole, why I would have never played it on my own, is because being trapped on a part of the reason I enjoyed Dead Space, but I didn't love Dead Space because I hated always consistently being trapped on a space station. Like I'm not always the biggest fan being trapped inside a facility or space station for an entire game. I can enjoy a game like that, but I don't often love a game like that.
So you
Like I
didn't
like
love,
when I can be.
so you didn't love BioShock?
I loved BioShock.
It's
I
the
did
same
love
thing.
BioShock.
It's instead of space,
I
you're
know.
underwater.
I know. I said very seldom. I said very seldom. Very seldom.
Okay.
I know. But so this game, just like the environment didn't appeal to me. And then on top of that, I hated the look of the enemy types on every video I watched. So when I got into it, it was the story that kept me going because the story was enjoyable. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you know, do you trust the whole time you're being led by these robots or by your brother?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like the two sides of the moral conflict that are pulling you in each direction. And I love that part. You know what I mean? I loved finding the humans and seeing who survived. I was really sad because there was this one giant story beat where this guy betrays you and then you got to hunt him down and try and kill him.
The dude
And
in
I
the
never
kitchen?
Yeah, I never found him though.
Uh.
I wanted to kill him so bad, but I couldn't find him.
That's
So I just
probably my
finished the
favorite
game.
little sub story in the whole game.
I loved it too. I truly enjoyed it. It's just like I was like I couldn't find the guy. I literally couldn't find the guy.
Yeah, just to explain that one real quick. So one of the areas you get to is the cafeteria, and there's this guy, and he's like, "Oh, Morgan, I know you, you know," and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, why don't you go in the refrigerator? I have things for you there," and then he traps you in the fridge, and he's like, "Oh, I know who you are. Like this is, you know," he starts blaming you and calling, like, starts rambling all this craziness. So yeah, you escape the freezer. You start seeing like booby traps everywhere, and then eventually the quest leads you to an escape pod, which is also booby trapped, and if you use it, it'll kill you. And I don't think you can actually find this guy. I don't remember getting a chance to like get revenge on him, but it's just like out of nowhere, this one guy just fucks with you so bad, and you want to get him. Like it's just like out of like I just wanted to abandon like solving the mystery of what's like going on, what's happening, listen to my brother, listening to the recordings of my future self. I was like, I gotta get this son of a bitch. He tried to kill me. I gotta get this son of a
There
bitch.
has to be a way that you can get him because like it's a quest failure if you don't. You know what? Just because of the ending, there could be also a chance that he is a representation of the Typhon as part of the experiment. You know what I mean? Because he's always like, "You don't know, Morgan. You and I are doing the same thing. You don't know what your reality is." Blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's getting like so dangerously close to spoiling the ending. I mean, maybe he. It's it could be. I can't say this without giving it away.
Right? I know.
Do we want to just say it?
We got so far though. I don't want to because we got so far. We made it up until now without spoiling it. So
Like we gave the warning, you know. Like if you want to play it, then
No. We made it this far.
Come
I think
on.
we could do it.
all right,
I think we could do it.
all right. So the main point of this, there's 2 points of the story, right? The one is you want to stop. You have to get off the station at the very least. That's your objective, and that's sort of what your uploaded memories are leading you towards, and they're also leading you towards like don't trust your brother. Your brother is he's deceiving you. The other thing that's sort of, I don't know if it's like explicitly said or hinted at or where this information comes from, but stopping the Typhon from getting to Earth. So
yep, that's part of it.
You have the option of just escaping or of blowing up the station.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? Just say it.
Just say it?
Just say it. Just say it. Because there's so much to say on this topic.
Why did you change your mind?
Because we need to say things in order, like, I can't engage with this without saying things. Like, we're here. Spoiler. If you've made it this far, jump ship now if you want to play this game and not be surprised. But honestly, the spoiler isn't so bad that I think it ruins the game.
Right. So the original understanding that you have throughout 99.9% of the game is the beginning was a simulation. You're not on Earth. You're on the space station. You're either trying to get off or blow it up so that the Typhon can't get to Earth. The very end of the game, when you succeed in either one, you wake up again, and and it's revealed to you that the entire game that you've been playing is also a simulation, and that you are a Typhon. You are not even human. So the thing we were talking about earlier with the morality, you have a bunch of the robots there with uploaded consciousnesses, and your brother evaluating your
response.
Your response and your morals, how you interacted with the situation. So they can either be like, oh, this thing's crazy and it's not gonna cooperate with us and we should get rid of it, or they'd be like, oh my god, it exhibited such amazing human responses and it has empathy and blah blah blah. And then your brother is like, okay, do you want to help us like save the Earth, because the Typhon are already on Earth according to the ending. And then instead of your morality determining the ending, it like cuts to a choice of cooperate with Alex and try and save the Earth, and then it just ends with you like, the Typhon arm reaching out, changing into a human hand, and you shake Alex's hand and everything is honky-dory, or you reject it and then you kill Alex and you kill the robots, and that's the ending. So it's the Inception thing of the simulation within the simulation.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they even say, like, when you wake up, so even if you've been a bad person, they say how part of the reason you're remembering the first simulation in the simulation is because they tried to, well, I guess Morgan, the real Morgan legitimately was trying to input Typhon technology or Typhon discoveries into a human vessel. But that didn't work time and time again, and the Typhon spread across Earth. So then what they tried to do is your character, you were a Typhon being programmed with Morgan Yu's memories. So they tried to put the human in the Typhon rather than the Typhon in the human,
right.
which was a very unique thing, right? Because I was like, yeah, that is interesting. You're remembering all these things of the simulation, everything else, because you're being programmed with almost the failures of Morgan Yu for the Typhon to learn, like, hey, but Morgan is probably as close as they got to a good integration between Typhon and
human.
Yeah.
Of all the things in the game that I thought would have pissed you off, I was anticipating the ending being the thing that frustrated you the most.
I don't know. It was, I had a moment where early on in the game, very early on in the game, I used the glue gun to get to Alex Yu's, your brother's escape pod. Early on, like very early on, I was like, fuck this. I'm about 8 hours into this game, 10 hours into this game. Let's get on the escape pod. Let's get out of here. Like, if this is like one of those cool moments in a game where if you can get to this escape pod and you can end it, congratulations, you just finished the game. I was like, I'll try it. I was like, I'm out of here. I was like, I'm kind of bored with this game. Let's get out of here.
I remember you texting me about that. Like, should I do it? Like, I don't know. It feels like I shouldn't do this. And I was like, hey, just do it.
Yeah. And I got into the escape pod, and pretty much it just says, pew! You hear a thing power down, and it says game over. And you just hear Alex's voice along with a couple other people's being like, oh, I didn't expect that choice. Out of every simulation we ran with Morgan, like, that was never the choice they made.
Oh.
Like, wow. Like, and so you kind of get a bit of a spoiler that you're like, you're in a simulation. And right then and there, I was kind of like, okay, well, that affirms that this is a simulation in a simulation. but but I'm curious as to like what the story is. So I knew that was there from like hour 10 going onwards.
I didn't I didn't know it until the end. The thing I'm curious to see if on another playthrough where I do go for the alien powers is there anything else alluding to that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you take more of the alien powers, you sometimes have glitches. Um, you sometimes have glitches over what the reality is. You'll see blips of you actually opening your eyes
Oh yeah.
here and there. Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
little ones. And then I don't know what was your final decision. Did you eradicate the Typhon, or did you put the control node into the Typhon so you can control it?
Yeah, I blew it up. I blew up the station.
So I did control. I implemented that, and they showed me more hints when you do it.
Interesting. What other hints?
You may it just keeps showing you frames of like your opening eyes, and there's Alex in January roving over you, or December, whoever's talking.
Wow.
I don't remember which one it is. And then at the end, you have to choose between Alex and January again. Even after I implemented the node, you get to an end where it's just Alex and January sitting there. And January's like, don't switch that button. It's not too late to blow up the station. Your brother's tricked you up until now.
Right.
Like, fuck your brother. And your brother's like, no, Morgan, think about everything we've done. I've shown you videos that it was you who taught me all this. And I was like, damn, bro, you know what? You're right. My original plan before I lost my memory was to just work with the Typhon. So why would I go against that? Just because I lost my memory? I was like, so I blew up January. I asked you to blow up January. I blew fucking January up. I took the disarm key from January's dead corpse robot body, and I just turned the key and blew and integrated with the Typhon.
So even though you had the opportunity to, do something different than your past self, just be, you're just like, oh well, that's what I would have done then. Even though you might not have done that now, just because that's what your past self did, that's what you decided.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, I still thought that the memories were like of me before I didn't program my memories. Like I didn't fully understand that I was a Typhon examining Morgan Yu's memories. I was just like, so mine was more like, well, I mean, if I lost my memory and my brother was the one that wanted to blow up the facility and now he's on the side here, he must be saying something right. Like if I'm the one who convinced him to keep this. I was like, why would I go against my own word? Because these robots are fucking telling me otherwise. Like fuck that.
Well,
so I just shut.
I would argue the robots are a more recent version of your memory. Like okay, the past you might have convinced Alex that was the way to go when Morgan was a little more morally bankrupt, and then the closer it gets to present day is when Morgan realizes that that was probably a mistake and they just need to get rid of these things.
Oh, when you're running and gunning, you get a shotgun that can one-shot anything. You just kind of want to blow shit up. And I was just like, fuck you, January. Peace. And I just grabbed the arming codes, and Alex was like, good shot.
What triggers the military coming? Because that was the part of the game where I was just like, son of a bitch. Like, how can there be...
Well, the military comes inevitably because they got a call from Earth, aka like Morgan and Alex's parents send them to like no matter what happens to like shut down the whole facility and area. But it happens after you turn the reactor back on. You turn the reactor back on, you kind of like re-simulate everything, and then suddenly Alex's escape pod is accessible, like a stairwell opens up to it and you're like about to dip. But then you find out that the military's taking a bunch of people hostage and is like not allowing anybody to fly off. So you have to kill this general and then save your people pretty much.
Right.
If you want to, right?
Did you save anybody from the military?
Yeah, I did. I saved like everyone from the military because I found out in the room where like the person where like I had to go turn on the life support again, there was the general and I got to blow his brains out with a shotgun. So I was like super cool about that.
I hope you never get a shotgun in real life, Mike.
I'm not like this in other games. I'm super passive in other games. Like in other games, I've been like a mediator and the arbiter and like and other things. It's just like this game was so annoying with its enemy combat that I just would like didn't get fun until I could roll around with a shotgun and my kinetic powers. Like then it became a good game. Then it became like BioShock and I started enjoying it more. Because BioShock, part of the thing I love about BioShock is it's your powers plus your gun. That's what made it so unique, right? Or in the second one, you have the drill, and you are one of the big daddies.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Big
Big
Daddies, right?
Daddies, yeah. In the first one, it was one or the other, like, which was a big improvement to number two. Like in the first one, you're either using your powers or you're either using a gun. Like you couldn't
Right.
have both. That wasn't until Bioshock Two.
Yeah, the combat definitely improved in Bioshock 2 because then you were like shooting with a pistol and then also using your powers. But
Yeah,
like but like the integration between the powers and the guns is like what I liked. When it was just human stealth, even Dishonored, you have the powers early on. Like you can
yeah.
start pumping. Like so, my problem was that they don't give you the powers from the first block. If they had, I probably would have enjoyed this game a lot more from the beginning because I would have like invested a little bit in like a gun and a little bit into powers. And like early on, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. But they force you to go to a certain point of the game. Not only that, but the powers aren't even accessible to you until you've psycho scanned so many enemies. So that was another thing that was like cool, but also a piss off because I was like, a lot of the powers I enjoyed using most didn't come until I psycho scanned advanced enemies from like 12 hours in the game. Like for example, the warp, the one that was like one of the funnest ones to use because like you're getting surrounded or something, or like a phantom's attacking you and it just warps towards you and you warp the other way and it's like holy fuck and it's hitting your dead shell and I'm behind it and I roll up and pop pop like that was one of the most enjoyable things. But you had to get that from a psionic phantom, and like the psionic phantoms, you couldn't find enough of them with the psycho scanner until about like 12 to 13 hours in. And then if you're playing at my rate, I think I finished the game in 17 hours. So like I had 5 hours left. Like I would have loved that at the beginning. Like I would have loved those powers in the beginning. And like it sucks because the game I enjoyed most isn't accessible to you until the end. Like I think I would have liked the new game plus where I could have kept the powers and gone into another playthrough. Like I think I would have really enjoyed that.
Well, I mean, the reason they don't give you the powers right off the bat is one, to build up the fear and that you're supposed to feel weak, but also you have the choice to not even spec into that.
I'm with you. But like, I didn't feel fear. I felt annoyance. I just felt annoyance. Like I was just annoyed. I was never afraid at any point in this game. I was never nervous. I was just annoyed.
It must be nice being such a manly man's man, Mike. Okay, I'm
I
sorry I
guess.
experienced a freaking emotion, which made me more
Uh,
immersed this fantastic game.
yeah, I mean, like, I've never, I think the bar has been set so high for me by games like Resident Evil 5 or 6 and like Biohazard, like Resident Evil Biohazard and Silent Hill that like it's hard for me. This game didn't have enough fear in it. Like it wasn't fearful. Like I wasn't afraid of the enemy types. Like I was just annoyed by them. So like I think if I'd been afraid of the enemy types and there'd been a challenge, like again, I think if the nightmare had been more of a nightmare for me, like if I wasn't able to just kill it the way I did, um, and I was so my powers were so strong, and I got lucky with where it attacked me, I probably would have been more afraid.
Yeah, I never didn't have an oh shit moment as soon as I knew there was a nightmare coming. That was always just like pure panic.
And for me, I was like, get into a narrow space, get your shotgun ready, make sure your psi hypos are full, and just get ready to blast.
But they can still shoot you in a narrow space. Like if they have a line of sight on you, they shoot those blasts at you, and they do a
But it
lot of
can't go.
damage.
It can't. But if I'm behind a computer or a fabricator, it can't go through it. So I would just pop pop from behind cover, pop pop pop, go back in, pop pop pop, go back in, psi blast.
So you played like
Yeah,
you were a coward. That's what I hear. You're a coward.
I. You know what?
See,
Sure,
I think you were
got me
scared.
down
You
through.
were scared of the nightmares. You're hiding like that.
Well, it killed me the first time I tried to fight it. I was just bored. I was like, I don't want to deal with this thing. I'm in the middle of this adventure, and I told you I kept like the enemies kept annoying me because I just wanted to get to the next story beat because the story is good. Like the story is interesting. Like going around, figuring out how people died, figuring out like what's going on, like who survived, who was. I even didn't mind like the romances, like what went wrong, like what went wrong with experiments, where did things tip off. Like there was so many great things, but then this nightmare shows up, kills me when I'm in my office just trying to resupply for my next run over the thing. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I was like, this thing's just annoying as shit right now. So it comes back in the second time, and I was like, fuck this. I'm going behind this fabricator. And I noticed it couldn't get in there, so I was like, okay, well, I could just pop, pop, kinetic blast, pop, pop, kinetic blast.
I don't see how that's a negative. Like in almost like any game that I can think that has some sort of a similar mechanic, like Left 4 Dead has the safe rooms, even Resident Evil, the remakes. You have that huge guy like Nemesis or Mr. X, I think in 2 and 3, that just is massive, like fuck busts through brick walls like it's nothing. But you go into like a specific room and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, yep, can't get you. Like that to me is more like immersion breaking than me being in my office and a nightmare busting in. Like there should,
yeah, I'm with you.
like
I'm with you.
realistically,
It just
there
came at
should
the
be
wrong time.
Ugh.
It just came at the wrong time. I just wasn't interested. Like I never had a situation with a nightmare where I was like, that was fun. It was just like I killed it once, and then I killed it again in the crew quarters, and then I killed it from the stairwell, and it was just shooting these bubbles at me because it's not going to go up the stairs. So I was just Q-beaming the shit out of it from up above, and like.
But like that's the point. There's not going to be a right time. Like things don't, unless they're scripted. They don't like work out that way in reality. Like shit just happens sometimes.
I know, but they never gave me terror. There was just like this thing. I was like, okay, this countdown's coming. I just gotta blast this thing with shotgun shells and get out of this room.
Well, nothing's more terrifying for you than looking in the mirror. So I understand.
Hey, exactly. That's the nightmare. That's the nightmare. There you go.
I'm just kidding.
There you go. No, but look. I will say this. Like overall, this game was still an okay experience. Like now, if I had the knowledge of what this game was going back into it, and I had the time, and I was bored one day, I would maybe play this game on hard mode, knowing what I know now, and maybe enjoy it more and take a little bit more time. But I think one of the deficits for me was the idea that like I really didn't like the enemy types, and I got over the environmental challenge, but I really didn't like the enemy types. So like now, knowing what I need to do to get to a good place with the combat style I want to play with, like I think I could get to that faster by knowing how to use the psychoscope and knowing what to scan and knowing what to kill and what not to kill early on and like what to psychoscan. I think I could get to a more enjoyable game experience faster. So this game was okay. I still wouldn't have gone out of my way to play it ever though. Like it was still like it was a good game and a great story. It was a unique execution, but I just did not like the combat in it. I just didn't like the idea of being like a human sneaking around. And if that is the elements, you like in it, maybe you will, but like I hated that.
So how did you play Dishonored? Were you just going around massacring everything?
Well, no, I enjoyed sneaking up on humans. I didn't enjoy sneaking up on venom splooge monsters,
Jesus Christ. So I think you said at one point that you were surprised this didn't get a sequel.
Yeah, because of the way the game ends, though.
So just from a narrative point, not because of like you thought it was a good game or anything.
No, because this game to me did a unique job combining a lot of things I like from a lot of games. It is a little bit of Half-Life. Nope. It's a little bit of BioShock.
Yep.
I personally think so. Okay, I think so.
The only thing that Half-Life and this have in common is that aliens are involved.
And the wrench. And starting off with the wrench. I cannot get that out of my head.
It's a crowbar in Half-Life.
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, it's like starting off with the tool, but I don't know. I got a little bit of Half-Life.
Started off with the biggest tool right there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a good thing on my screen you're pointing at yourself. No, but but I don't know. It's that, and then the enemy types felt like a diminished version of some of the enemy types you fight in Crysis, especially in Crysis 3. I remember in Crysis 3 when they're bipedal all the time, like early on they're bipedal, and you're fighting them. I think it was that, but it was like a diminished version of it because in Crysis it was like a beautiful, like it is a shooter. I know Crysis is a shooter, but they do such a good job. I don't know, getting into the one-on-one combat situations, the group combat situations in Crysis. I just would have loved to see more of that in this game. Like I get it's not that game, but like I don't know.
Crysis right off the bat is a power fantasy. You have the nano.
Yeah,
suit.
It is.
You have the nano suit that gives you all these abilities, whereas in Prey, like you're just supposed to be like
human
a scientist. Like scientist doesn't know they can barely shoot a gun, and even the upgrade tree of the human skills like reflects that. I mean, you suck at shooting a gun. Even just aiming is difficult until you've upgraded that, and you could argue narratively like the upgrading of that skill is just like you gaining experience and learning how to shoot. But like, you suck at all those things in the beginning because you're supposed to be some person. And the reason I
Hey,
say
for the
person,
scientist.
yeah, instead of the reason I'm saying person instead of dude is because you can choose to be male or female.
Yeah. I mean, cool, cool. I just didn't get me. It didn't do enough for me. It just it was all little things I've loved from other games, but like all synthesized together, it just wasn't the package I was looking for.
It's still, to me, just it sounds like a headspace issue, or a perception issue of this
It was
is
just
what
boring
you're.
fighting the enemy type. The enemy type was just fucking boring. Like that's it. There it is.
I,
Like I had to push through it. It's just like I was fighting the Flood in a shittier version of the Crisis guys. But I enjoyed at least being a badass and turning into a superhuman at the end and fucking destroying everyone. Like that got good. That power fantasy aspect for me was only when it got good. So I mean, but it allows you to become that. It's not like it denies you your gameplay or my gameplay, and that's at the end of the day what makes the game unique is you can play this as a stealth little bitch like Steve did, or you can do this as a Typhon god like I did. Handsome, stunning, charming, great looking, rolling around with a shotgun and just kinetic blasting all over everything.
to me, I'm glad that there hasn't been any talk of a sequel. I think the scope of like the Typhon on Earth is way too big. It's way too big.
And me as the power fantasy playthrough would have loved to continue my power fantasy character now without the stealth elements, just rolling up and just
So just
blasting.
go play Crisis 3. There's your unofficial sequel.
I know,
There's your-
I know. It's true. It's true.
Even though I think Crisis 3 came out before, I don't know the
I think it
timing
did.
on
I
that
think
one.
it did.
But like to have mimics on like a global scale, I think it's too much. I think something like this needs to be in a confined space, and when you take that global, I feel like it would lose, for me, obviously not for you, the magic that it had.
I have ideas. Arcane, talk to me, okay? I'll help you write Prey 2. We can figure this out together.
He's gonna turn it into Call of Duty. Don't do it.
No, I got ideas.
Yeah, what are your ideas? Let's go. We got time. I'm not in a rush.
No. I don't give those away for free.
It won't be free. If they use any of your ideas, we'll point to this video and be like, "Hey, pay me."
That is not how copyright works. Good try, but yeah, that's if somebody says something idiotically on the internet that's a good idea, and somebody else takes it, you cannot. I do not have a license or a patent on that. I'm good. I got ideas though.
It's idea theft, Mike.
Talk to me. Idea theft, exactly. No, but I don't know. I think I would have enjoyed, a more. I think there maybe would have had been a little bit of a less stealth element, and you would have had to go to things on a bigger scale. But I don't think you would have had to go to that Call of Duty level like you were calling it. I think there's a good balance you could have gone in between.
I'm just calling it that because that's what you want. You want, like I said, a monkey brain, boom boom, shoot, explodey, pow pow,
Yeah.
and then you'll have fun.
Hey man, haven't we reviewed a game in this season that isn't so monkey brained?
This one, the one that I think is the most narrative focus, is the game that you have poo pooed the most. You can never play your writer card on this podcast again.
Yeah, I mean, this one I like the story. I just didn't like the game. Make the movie Prey, and I'll probably love it.
No, because you're gonna call everything fucking Venom splooge monsters and hate it.
The CG will probably do a better job. Things have evolved.
It's literally the whole thing is CG. It's all computer graphics. There's nothing real in
CG's
there.
evolved. Be better.
It's come a bit of a ways in 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, what am
By
I
the time
saying?
they
In
make the
12
movie-
years.
By the time they make the movie, it will be on Unreal Engine 6. We'll be fine.
I don't think we need a Prey movie. I'm okay without that.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with most video
Yeah.
games not being movies. It just has not been great overall.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I've seen a single one that's actually pulled it off.
The only one that I will watch probably is the Resident Evil ones, because they're just so ridiculous that it goes into that like campy B movie fun, but they're so bad. It's the good kind of bad.
Yeah, I agree. I can't think of a single one. I mean, like even then, it's like I can barely even think of an anime movie I like or anything like that. Like they just mess all this up. It's producers who don't have any relationship to the source material that get involved and think they know something about what people want, but they don't even realize that the whole reason this thing is being made is because there was such a huge fan following in the first place.
Right. Before we go on a huge like
Yeah. No. We won't.
The two of us about, different mediums not translating so well. If you can think of a way to pitch this game to somebody without me doing it and going gaga about it, then I think we'll have succeeded.
I'm telling you right now, this one isn't to me. This is you this time. I'm always the guy who gives it the closing last remarks on the good, and I was the one who liked Zelda and you didn't like it. I would tell someone who wants to play this game to go play BioShock instead. So go for it. This one's yours, my friend. This one's yours. Give the audience, give us your, why do you love this game?
I like this game sci-fi for me is always going to be a draw. If you don't like sci-fi, this isn't going to be for you. But for me, as soon as I see something in space or in like a, cyberpunk future, it gets my interest right away. It doesn't mean it's all good, but it gets my interest right away. So that was my jumping off point. If I like Arcane, I think they're, like I said before, when they can sink their teeth into something that they care about, you get a really good product. If you like something that's, atmospheric and you don't need to have, crazy action right away, it's the start of this game's not going to bother you. I mean, the narrative is great, like you said, and that the mystery of what the hell is going on, which at this point we've thoroughly spoiled, is going to get you through, and you get, all these mechanics in the beginning, and once you get the glue gun, it's just like the amount of fun you can have just putzing around with that thing, I think is worth the sale price alone of getting to play this game. And yeah, it's not crazy long. Like, yours was 17 hours, you said. I think I put about 25 into it because I just wanted to do and see everything that I could, and because of my playstyle, it took me longer to do certain things, or I would have to find alternate ways around, so that added to the time. And yeah, you have some freedom on how you want to play the game. So I thought they did a great job. Most people refer to this as their magnum opus. Clearly not Mike. But, you can see bits of where they've come from in the Dishonored series. And I think to a certain degree, probably more so with the Typhon powers, you can see where they were headed to with, what was the time loop game? Deathloop. Yeah. You can see where they were headed. So I think it's great. There's not too many games that are so focused on immersing you in the situation that you're in and telling you a story that also you're allowed to, make choices in, which unfortunately, as we said, like ultimately just leads to a button press at the end. There's no real consequence to that other than, maybe you limit your access to certain paths or certain, solutions in different areas, but there's not like a major consequence. But I think it's great. If you like anything like that, you'll have a great time with this game.
Yeah, and as a sci-fi fan, I think if you are truly a sci-fi fan of enjoying your derelict environments that force you to compete against the elements of being isolated from the rest of humanity, you will enjoy this game.
Yeah, and if you just want to, zen out and float through space, like Mike said, you get some of the best zero-G movement that there is, and, the skybox is pretty damn pretty, too.
Yeah, and there's plenty to explore out in space. They speckle space, which is with as much to explore outside than there is on the inside.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. There it is, Prey. An okay game.
It's a great game. Mike.
An okay game.
An okay game. You're a piece of shit. I hate you. I'll never do another podcast with you again.
Well, we don't have any more hate episodes after this. It's just loving. The next one we're gonna be doing is an indie featurette. So there's only gonna be love. There's only love from here. So
Is that next? I thought something else was next.
Shadows. Oh no, you're right. You're right. What's next is a current up and coming game that's trending all over the place. On our next episode, we're going to be doing the only game we've done that has contemporary relevance, which is Helldivers 2.
Yeah, finally we're into this decade. But don't get used to it.
That's right. Don't get used to it. It's rare that a game can captivate us as much as that one is, and we're excited to tell you why.
All right, buddy. Love you.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
Love you, Steve.
Bye.
Bye, brother.
As always, a big thanks to Aaron Rastovic for the sweet beats.
Fantastic.
Great game.
That was a great game. One of the greats.
Great game.